What? Oh, the timer is telling me to either restart it or quit. I don't know what that means. Oh, why did that start at 5-minute timer? I like how this little program, which I've never used or seen before, but trying to figure out a way to have a little countdown in my Twitch thing. I was like, oh, this is a thing that you can do in the terminal. But it's so amazing that the help flag is literally a point. Just go to the person's GitHub account. Ah. And I think that's it's like a string to integer conversion Golang thing that's literally just bombed out. I like it. It's Friday afternoon. Yay! Friday evening, Friday afternoon, or in the middle of the night Thursday if you're in the United States. Yeah, CSTO, who doesn't hate computers? Isn't that, we're all here because of our joint hatred of computers. And I wanted to try and figure out, I ended up saving the files from when we were playing around last week, when we had started to auto-generate this amazing data flow diagram using hcltm. I kind of like, a part of me wants to finish trying to figure out what the hell this diagram should look like and starting to work on the rest of the file. And a part of me is like, no, let's just move on from this. Even after we had gone through and captured quite a bit of stuff inside of this representation. The other thing that I realized is, like, I constantly don't use Vim in super smart ways, and I'm always forgetting that you can do things like you can just run your commands directly inside of Vim to do validation of files. And I think there's also like, there's a smarter way of doing something like standard in. If you do, there's something, I don't know if it's the percentage sign, it'll like pipe in the content of the file directly into the command. Oh no, it pipes in the name of the file. Oh, right. Okay. That's useful, because that means we can do things like, what is this thing? DFD out equals DFD dot. Look at that. Power of Vim. Show me that in Emacs, will ya? No, but I know, apart from me wanting to be a bit of a completionist and spend some time figuring out how to do more of this actual vending machine threat model, I was also potentially wanting to show some of the horrible GraphViz stuff that I started to look at last night trying to figure out how to make like an interactive page where you could see this diagram, you know, so you can see something. Oh, why did that? Oh, because the file already exists. So you can see this picture inside of your browser and interact with it. So being able to like click on the elements and see stuff happen in like the threat model file itself. And then I realized I was neck deep in JavaScript, and there's like, I'm not too sure if you haven't seen before, there's this really cool thing from Kelly Shortridge released this awesome like attack tree tool. If this isn't a thing that you've seen before, this thing's actually super cool because it's kind of like it's a real-time graph viz creation tool. Like under the hood, this is basically like they obviously have some logic to convert this YAML into these graph viz presentations. And I was having a look trying to figure out, okay, so like how do they do that? Are they sending this YAML off to be processed? And the actual source code for this is all on the internet. I think it's Ryan's. Yeah. So lo and behold, you can kind of come in and see how they've converted that YAML into a graph viz thing, which is kind of super cool until you get down to like, okay, so how does this work? And these two are flipping crazy because this thing, where is it? This thing uses this thing, hpcc-js. And this thing is probably something that should not exist. But they're C++ libraries that are compiled to WebAssembly for reuse in Node.js web browsers and JavaScript libraries. So this thing, this thing is crazy. It is, when you run the deciduous.app, this is all local within your browser, which is obviously really cool. Like they don't handle or process any of your information. But they dynamically generate this in your browser using WebAssembly, which is kind of clever and also horrifying. And then, yeah, apparently like this library is whatever, it's available to do. You know, if you look up some of the examples, you know, this thing is not, I don't even know, how do I view the source in Safari? Maybe I can't. Can I not do that? Who uses Safari here? I've been trying to use it a little bit more, but I am an absolute noob at it. Can I inspect elements? Shit, I can't even do anything in here. What the hell? What about this thing? No. What? Does it not have a DevTools in Safari? What am I doing wrong? Oh wait, show sidebar? No, that's not what I want. Oh my god, computers. Okay, I actually don't understand. Safari apparently doesn't have a DevTools. That doesn't seem right. Anyway, these pages, they're literally just like raw dot into this weird ass WebAssembly version of Graph is, and then they're rendered in the browser. And it's just like, oh my God, okay, so that's a way that you can, in fact, do what I want to do. Command, hang on, Cam, is that right? What's that gonna... No, that did not do shit. Did you do the thing where it's like the old computer, Windows computer, Alt F4? Were you trying to Alt F4 me and make me close my Safari? This is actually quite amazing. How to... I think it might be my fault. Oh, you need to turn on the developer menu. Ah, shit. Oh, Command Q. Well, there you go. Apparently, you have to turn on, like, the dev preferences is a whole preferences, which I guess makes sense. Show develop menu. Look at that. Okay. Here we go. Okay, cool. All right. You develop. Oh, this is all fun. Show page source. So, yeah, I mean, basically, what Deciduous is doing is using this WebAssembly JavaScript thing to pull apart this raw dot file, and then it's then using this JavaScript WebAssembly library to render that into an element on the page. And so I started to play around with, okay, so maybe then what I want to do is from here, if I want to play around with that, is there an easy way to get the raw dot file out of the libraries that I'm using over here? Because lurk iCacsips 06. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, or evening. Hi, Spatina. It's good having New Zealanders in here. Although it's much later for you folks. So what, hello. That little emoji face is also the face if you've missed the upside down table when they've like flipped the table. This week started off a little bit table flippy, but actually ended really, really awesome. So I'm in a pretty good mood. And then after this, I'm going to eat Japanese with the kid. So that's going to be fun. So what I was trying to figure out was, like, when I had put together, you know, the logic that allowed this auto generation of DFDs to occur, I was like, wait a minute. And how am I doing this? Is there, like, because I implemented this quite a few months ago, I'm like, wait, is there the dot file representation of the GraphViz file somewhere in the middle? Can I capture that and then potentially spit the whole thing out into a HTML file that you can obviously render and make like your threat model all interactive and all that. And then I realized that it was possible because the logic for it. Packages load error. Why did you not work? When my Vim Go decided to have a brain fart today. While that's doing its thing, I still click around. Oh, I can't. Good. Good, good. Computers, you're wonderful. Either way, though, I had figured out that there is, in fact, a way that I can do it. So I've added the dot flag as an experiment. And that basically just like dumps here. It just like dumps the representation of the DFD in its weird graphiz.file template thing, which I don't really recommend anyone ever playing around with that stuff because it's kind of disgusting. So that was fun. I was like, okay, cool. So I can in fact get all that stuff out. And then I started to play with, okay, so maybe we can start figuring out how to load up that graphiz WebAssembly thing in JavaScript and render the content. And then I'd realized that to do things like change the cursor and other fun stuff, thought I'd done, but maybe... so to do things like set the pointer style so you can hover over the interactive thing, I realized that, oh, you're going to open in Chrome, aren't you? Oh, why? I very quickly realized that the way that currently that Marketa DFD Go library thing works, it doesn't fill the elements, which means that it's impossible to do things like, oh, is this thing not even going to work at all? Oh, here we go. So if I wanted to do like the ability to kind of click on it, you kind of can see the cursor, like you can't click on the actual process here because it's not filled with anything. It's just transparent. You can see the cursor changes right on the edge. And it's like, oh God, why? Why are these elements not filled? Why is this not a thing? And so I ended up having to go like way back to the drawing board and realize that, oh, I know why this doesn't work, because I've tried to import this library from somewhere else. Computers, they're the worst. Let's see. See, I had half started this work yesterday and I realize now that, oh, here we go, that should work. That the only way I was going to be able to get this to work was if my use of this library here was modified. Because right now, this graphiz library, it doesn't allow you to customize how, like in a process, for instance, like what's the content of that. So if I look at what that means in here in DFD node, all the definitions, like the way that a process or an external element or a data store, any of that information around what that element looks like inside of the threat model, it's predefined in the Marketa library, which you can't change. They haven't allowed you to do any attribute or formatting changes. They pretty much, they force you to use the strict formatting that they've got. And I'm trying to figure out where that existed. Client, node. Oh yeah, here. So basically, like they use this thing to set the attribute, but the only place that this works is inside of this set attributes function here, but it's in Golang, lowercase functions aren't exported, which means that I can't call that from hcltm, which meant that I've had to port this to potentially update it to allow me to literally change the formatting in the diagram, which just is all too much work for something that I thought was going to be really, really simple. And so that was infinitely frustrating. And I'm not going to do that today, but at some point, I'll probably get back to that. But Seasto, I don't want to do a quick hack. I want to do it proper. You think I got this far in life by quick hacks? I am inefficient hacks. Oh, it's proper hack. I love it. So basically, like what I'm trying to do is basically the plan is I'm literally I've forked this package. I'm gonna modify it so that from outside of it you can customize these attributes yourself. So I can change the colors of things and change that, change the fill and do all that sort of fun stuff. So that's the thinking at the moment. I don't think it'll take long. It was just a matter of like, oh God, surely there's a way that I can do this easily. But if you have a reference, I'm all ears for doing things in a smarter way. I mean, mostly I'm not. I'm mostly about doing things stupid ways. Triple star. Should I be Googling this? Golang run. Oh God. Oh. Oh. Go link name. Yeah, reflection is fun. Ah. Oh my God. This seems gnarly. I've never seen this thing. Wait, does this thing use reflection or is this something different? Oh, this is funky. I mean, I kind of like funky. I'm totally fine. Oh, it doesn't use reflection. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research on that. That's interesting. I haven't looked around at that. In the meanwhile, I thought I would try and continue to work on this fun picture. I also like how every single time I run this command now, just because of the way that the dot file is put together and then subsequently rendered, this picture looks different every single time. Oh wait, is that actually the same as it looked before? No, it changes. Ugh. And that sounds like something that a hacker would do. I don't know about this. Are you right-clicking and viewing source as well? That sounds like something you do. So what I wanted to also do today was use Safari. Yeah, Safari's disabled. I like it. It's disabled view source by default. That's pretty good. So that's what they need. If you want to keep your website safe from hacking, just don't use Safari. I mean, like, make it so that your website only works with Safari. That's pretty funny. I do like that. I'd never come across developer mode in Safari before either. I don't know if maybe that's a new thing. I don't know if this Safari is up to date. I mean, I keep this computer relatively updated, so I'm assuming it's all totally okay. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to continue working on this little threat model and start to fill in some other bits and pieces. The DFD was less important. It was more about playing around with other parts of the framework inside of hcltm. So this wasn't even things like variables or anything like that. I was potentially more interested in maybe filling out some information assets, which I don't think any of them were in there. No, cool. And then continuing to sort of show you, like I think this will work. No, that's not going to work. You know, build up the threat model in HCL and then continue to show it validating and then obviously viewing when you use the terminal, the terminal view command as well. There's obviously a couple of use cases that I'm going to add real quick. The owner of the vending machine can get his money out of it. Use case. The staff members can top up the vending machine. Oops. Oops. So if we do the view command now, you'll start to see the use cases as we add them into the HCL file. They obviously start being presented in the output. Probably the other thing that we can start adding is the information assets. What is a good information asset? Have we already put some inside of this thing? Data store. Oh yeah. Goody cost database. This maintains the mapping of how expensive items are in the vending machine. What else? Information asset. I guess transaction history. This keeps a log of all the vending purchases. So this thing. So I think think the validation, oh, that thing will actually not care if that's an invalid information classification. For some reason I thought that would throw an error. What? Ah, that's weird. The validation, it doesn't care if I mistype the information classification of that asset, but it won't display it in the view unless it's well formatted. I don't really know why it does that. That doesn't seem correct. What would be the classification of the transaction history? That's probably just for staff, I would guess. So maybe let's just go with confidential. Actually, maybe this is like... All right. What else? Now, it's funny in that when I had tweeted about doing a vending machine threat model the other day, I think someone had asked, or someone had said like, oh, this threat model would be significantly different if this is a vending machine in a high school and it's filled with like lollies and candy and stuff, which I think is actually completely valid, although I think vending machines are pretty high risk all over the places. I don't know whether or not you'd worry more about kids breaking into a vending machine versus like people out in the street busting into your vending machine. But I think the threats of a vending machine are quite interesting. So I'm going to start trying to mock some of these up. And obviously, if anyone has any suggestions, I'm all ears. So to document the threats themselves inside of hcltm, you basically define these blocks. And then when rendered, it starts to basically build them out in this kind of like threat scenario section. Which is kind of fun. And I think the elements inside of a threat include description, any existing controls. I think there's more things that you can put in here. Oh yeah. Impacts, which is an array of things. Stride for those that are into stride threat modeling. But I don't know. I didn't want to make the stride thing compulsory because I think like a lot of people don't use it all the time because it can definitely like overcomplicate things. Which whatever, it's neither here nor there. I can't look at Twitter very often. The Australian political news is making me real angry. Ugh. Whatever. Put stride. We can also, from here, we can also refer and link back to information assets. So for instance, if we wanted to link back to this information asset, you can obviously you can kind of reference them back here. Oops. And then when you see the output, you can kind of see it outputs it as like a dot point list of asset links here in the markdown format file. Which is good. But let's see, description. Machine is physically breached to get money. Get money out. I think the controls for this, there's probably quite a few. Now, one of the things, because this does get passed into Markdown, you can, and also because of the fact that HCL natively has this support for multi-line strings. Let me see. Oh, it's the herodoc syntax. I don't even know, what does that mean? Here document, here text. A file literal, input stream literal, a section of source code file that is treated as if it were a separate file. So I don't know the history of this thing. All I know is that because hcltm uses HTML, you can do things like these multi-line text, multi-line inputs, which means if we wanted to have a block of text that was multi-line here for the number of controls, we can basically we can do that by doing that. Something else. So that means if we render this, you can start to see that we're effectively building out like a free text form for the controls against this scenario. Now, I implemented just recently, I think actually in a dev version, the ability to have, what was it? Or maybe I've already released it, but I know that now you can also do these proposed control blocks, and I'm half thinking maybe like all of the control blocks should work this way. So instead of you know, relying on basically this transposition of text that gets formatted into Markdown. But every single time I say Markdown, I think marked out, which is just so confusing. But like, instead of this, potentially we could just use the proposed control blocks and put the descriptions in here. Something, and then leave it as implemented equals, I guess, true. So for things that exist. Maybe that makes more sense. Oh, but it's called proposed controls. I'm gonna add another issue. I don't know the answer to that question. But on the vending machine, this threat of, you know, how, you know, preventing someone getting access to the cache inside of a vending machine. I'm wondering what would make sense as controls. There could be vending machine is in a well-lit area with surveillance. Availability. That. What else? I like this one. Just imagine, just imagine that you're able to actually tamper with the transaction database and physically get access to like the cash inside of it. Potentially you could like siphon off money maybe without people knowing it. Kind of like that. If we were going to see how this looks in the actual dashboard, we can do so with the dashboard. And then open this in VS Code. Oh, updates to VS Code. That's fun. Don't care about that. All right. As far as proposed controls, that's not great. But it's a start. Maybe there's other use cases. Use case. Vending machine submits status updates via oops. I kind of like that. I'm going to leave that threat model there for the moment. I am going to continue with it later on. I'm going to commit my working, because I have started to track this in a Git repo. So if people get bored, or if they want to fix it and make it better, yes, please. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. For those playing along at home, this is where that repository lives. Again, you're opening up Chrome. Good work. That's fun. All right. So instead, I'm going to continue working on trying to get my version of this library working such that I can set attributes from outside. So in the DFD thing, we generate this dot file, and this thing uses this DFD call to initialize a DFD with the threat model name. And then everything else that I do with that is through these functions against that DFD. So add trust boundary, I iterate through the processes, I add processes, add trust boundaries, I add external elements. And then I add the flows for each of the data flows in the threat model. And I think that's the last thing I do with it. Oh, no. Okay, so I've got that. I've got that go DFD data flow object. I add all the elements into it, and I add all the flows into it. I create this new client, DFD from dot. Okay. Oh, DFD to dot. I have to create a client so I can then pass through the generated threat model DFD file, and this outputs the dot output. And then automatically behind the hoods, I'm doing stuff to turn that dot into a PNG for the output, but I don't want to do that. I want to output that into HTML and then make it clickable. So actually what I want to do is, before this thing, because that writes a file. I actually want to be able to interact with this object and change the formatting. So initialize DFD. Okay, so that gives out a data flow diagram. Data flow diagram has add flow, add node element, add trust boundary, dot ID, structure. And then it doesn't export these. Now Cam had said I can obviously call these methods with some trickery, but I'm gonna not do that. I want to, what do I want to do? I want to be able to node attributes. So that's where we set the font name. Okay. These are all defaults. Oh God. Graph. So how does it know it's a circle? I do not understand. Ugh. Node circle type process. Okay. So this is where it's setting the shape. Label shape style. How the hell do I make this thing full? Wait. Attributes, set a dot attribute, set attribute. Do you want to, so an example of, I just want to output, when I output, so for instance, in, this output in here, these node definitions, I think there's another attribute associated with node definitions, circle, circle, circle. Oh, why are all these? Oh, because, okay. So every single one of these node definitions, there's another dot attribute where I want to set the fill color to something. And I think I do it in here, but I don't know exactly how. Because this is exportable, but I think this is for a node. And I can't get access to the nodes themselves. Unless I can get access to the nodes. If this actually turns out that I can in fact do this myself, well, that's going to be just wonderful, isn't it? Let's see. Okay, adds process. Hang on, let's just do. Wait, let's just go all the way back over here. Oh. Let's see. So this data flow diagram has two processes that are by themselves. And I think, in theory, add processes, range of the processes. This thing creates a new process. What is this output? This output's a process. New. So in theory, that should still create my diagram and nothing should change. Okay. But before I do that, I can go add attribute. No. Set attribute. What is an encoding.attribute? What is this thing? Oh, this is not even in. What is this thing? Ugh. All right. Oops. What is this thing? Key value. Okay. Key. Something. Value. Something else. How is this thing used here? Style. Key. So I think I want style. Oh, maybe let's just try changing these things into squares. So we'll do shape. Shape. Square. Panic. I have no idea what this is going to do, but let's see. Okay. Oh yeah, sweet. Oh no, that's it. Machinist. Yeah. Okay, so this process, which is one of these processes, is now got, it's a shape of square. So what I want to do is I want to figure out what's the graph is dot shape. That thing called fill. Ooh. Okay. So the shape is plain, except these two. Also, we have shown these as well as underlined without the style filled. Style equals filled. What? Style. Okay. So that seems to be filled, which also means that if I do this, what does that do? Oh, look at that. Sweet. Okay. So I don't have to fork that thing. I don't have to update and replace my modules. There are node exported functions where I can stylize my elements. Yes. That saves some work and I'm quite happy about that. And yay. I know that was a small victory, but I'm quite relieved. Oh, disappointing. Oh, I know. Well, serves me right for actually reading and understanding a library that I've put as a dependency in a software product. Like who does that? I'm just going to trust that all my third-party libraries are completely safe and without problems. But on that small victory, I am going to go eat some Japanese. And Cam, thank you so much for the help. And I hope everyone enjoys their evening and have a great weekend, everyone. I'm not going to add it to my threat model because I'm just going to trust everyone that writes software on the internet to write secure and safe and resilient software. Anyway, take it easy, friends. I love you all. You are wonderful people.